Shabbat Shalom. Okay. Good morning. I'm so delighted to see everybody here. And I want to welcome Rabbi Jeremy Gimbel, Rabbi Cantor Arlene Bernstein, and Mila Wingard. We are having special music today. This is a minyan. Oh, and Rabbi Navarez, you made it! Yay! And Dan Jones is here, the president of the congregation. This is really a bat mitzvah celebration. What can I tell you? Do I get gifts? Okay. I'm so delighted
From
to
the
see...
men's club, we have this book on the doorpost of your house, and from the women of Beth Israel, we have a set of candlesticks and a Kiddush cup. We hope that you will use them. And we also have a gift certificate from Nifty to help you get to Israel on one of their high school trips.
All right. If I can keep up with them, that would be great. This is a Shabbat morning minyan that meets every single week. And the idea of a minyan is generally 10 people. And this group started 30 years ago. There are seats in front. I know nobody likes to take first row, first seat. But Marvin Alper always had that. It was, anyway, we have some customs here that we normally do. So I want to remind the regulars not to go on autopilot, because we're not going to do everything that we ordinarily do. We have a lot of new music today, and I really can't tell you how honored I am to have all three rabbis here. I feel like it's my funeral already. I don't want a eulogy, and I think we do have enough chairs because we have empty chairs all over. Okay. Rabbi Gimbel led us in what we call a nigun, a song without words. And now we're going to turn in our prayer books. This is your prayer book. And it is, we will turn to page 10, and we will sing Hinei Matov.
Just double check. Your prayer book should have the word Shabbat on the front. If it says weekdays and festivals, you're going to be very confused. So we have copies of the Shabbat version right on the table.
Be
you. All of the transliteration can be found in this prayer book, so if you don't read Hebrew, it's all there for you. We will turn now to page 170. Okay, phones. If I hear a phone ring again, I'm going to stop, so turn off your phones, please. I'm really obnoxious. Okay, we will read this responsively on the top of page 170. May my life be one link in a chain of goodness as I say the prayers of my ancestors, help me to recall their devotion and faithfulness, their joy and suffering, which are in every word holiness. Holiness is my heritage. Holiness is my heritage. May I be worthy of it.
May our tradition live in me and pass from me to generations I shall never know, enriched by the truth that I have found and the good deeds I have done. So may I fulfill my task on earth and receive my blessing.
And when the service ends and the prayers have ceased, help me to bring their spirit into the world in which I live. May I love God above all and my neighbors as myself and be a living witness to the truth that never changes. And we will read this morning blessing, Moda Ani, or Modeh Ani if you're male. And I frequently tell this story, and you can read about it in my wonderful memoir, Sitting on the Stoop. Hint, hint. When I was a little girl in Brooklyn, my Zeta, that's a euphemism for grandfather, Zetas barely don't exist anymore, would get me up every morning, and he'd make me say, Moidi Ani. This was an alliteration of Moda Ani, and he'd give me 5 cents. And that got me a Hershey bar. So, you know that I'm dated. So we will say this together in the Hebrew. Moda Ani lefanecha, melech chai v'kayam, shehechazarti bi nishmati, b'chemla rabba emunato. Okay, and now it is time to put on the prayer shawl, for those of you who haven't already done so. And for those of you who don't know, this is the talit, the prayer shawl, and it is generally put on at the beginning of the service. So join me in the blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu la'asot b'divrei l'hitatef b'tzitzit. This is cool. You'd never think I did this before, right?
I know, seriously.
Seriously.
Yeah. Groupthink.
Groupthink. Okay. Our service actually begins on page 172 with Ma Tovu.
Ma Tovu.
Mishkenotech
on page 175, with the Daily Miracles. I don't sing as well as Rabbi Gimbel, but you'll bear with me. This is something that's done. Oh, I'm sorry. Elohai Neshama. First one.
Sure.
174 first. Good, I have them.
Elohai Neshama Shenatata Bi Tehorai. Elohai Neshama Shenatata Bi Tehorai. Elohai Neshama Shenatata Bi
come and lead us in the Daily Miracles, which are on page 75. This is something that's done responsively. They will read the first blessing, and then we as the congregation will read the second one. And we say 175, yes.
So do it in English. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who has given the mind the ability to distinguish day from night.
Amen.
Amen. Praise to you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who opens the eyes of the blind.
Praise to you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who frees the captive.
Praise to you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who lifts up the fallen.
Praise to you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who stretches the earth over the waters.
Amen. Praise to you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who strengthens our steps.
Praise to you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who clothes the naked.
Praise to you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who gives strength to the weary.
Praise to you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who removes sleep from the eyes, slumber from the eyelids.
Amen. Praise to you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who has made me in the image of God.
Praise to you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who has made me free.
Amen. Praise to you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who has made me a Jew.
Praise to you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who girds Israel with strength.
Amen. Baruch to you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who crowns Israel with splendor.
And together, blessed are you, Adonai our God,
Sovereign of the universe,
who helps us with his vote, commanding us to engage with the words of Torah.
And our service continues on page 180 with These Are the Things. Elu devarim she'ein lahem shi'ur. Let's read it together in English. These are the things that are limitless, of which a person enjoys the fruit of the world, of which and ways of the world to come. They are honoring one's father and mother, engaging in deeds of compassion, arriving early for study, morning and evening, dealing graciously with guests, visiting the sick, providing for the wedding couple, accompanying the dead for burial, be devoted in prayer, and making peace. But the study of Torah encompasses them all. And we continue on page 182 with a wonderful song composed by Debbie Friedman for our teachers. But before we do, think about a teacher you had in your life, and it doesn't have to be a teacher who was in a classroom, but someone who taught you something. And just whisper it or tell it to somebody next to you. You're my teacher. Here you go. I love it. And you're all my teachers. Okay. This is at the bottom of page 182.
For our teachers and their students and the students of the students, we ask for peace and loving kindness, and let us say Amen. And for those who study Torah here and everywhere, may they be blessed with all they need, and let us say Amen. We ask for peace and loving kindness, and let us say Amen. We ask for peace and loving kindness, and let us say Amen. We ask for peace and loving kindness, and let us say Amen. We ask for peace and loving kindness, and let us say Amen.
Thank you. And we continue on page 183 with Baruch She'amar.
Baruch she'amar v'haya olam, Baruch hu, Baruch oseh v'reshit, Baruch omer v'oseh, Baruch gozer umkayem, Baruch merachem al haaretz, Baruch merachem al habriot, Baruch meshalem sachar tov lireav, Baruch chai le'ad, v'kayam lanetzach, Baruch podeh u'matzil, Baruch shemo. V'shvachot v'zmar v'nanech u'mshubecha u'mshubecha. Melkeinu Elokeinu yachichei olam imel. Shemo hagadol. Baruch atah Adonai, melech mehulal b'tishbachot.
And we will continue now on page 185 with the Ashrei. This also we'll be doing in Hebrew, and it is done responsively. So Rabbi Gimbel will start us off.
Ashrei yoshvei beitecha, od yahalelucha selah.
Ashrei ha'am shekachalo, Ashrei ha'am sh'Adonai Eloheinu.
Tehillah leDavid, aramimcha Elohai hamelech, v'avarcha shimcha leolam va'ed. Gadol Adonai umhulal me'od, v'ligdulato ein cheker. Hadar kevod hodecha, v'divrei niflotecha asicha. Zecher avtucha yavihu, v'tzidkatcha yiranenu. Tov Adonai lakol, v'rachamav al kol ma'asav. Kevod malchutcha yomeru, ugvuratcha yidaberu. Malchutcha malchut kol olamim, umemshatcha bechol dor vador. Einei chol elecha yisaberu, ve'ata noten lahem etochlam be'itol.
ma'asav.
Tzadik Adonai bechol derachav, v'chasid bechol ma'asav.
Karov Adonai l'chol karav, l'chol
Ritzon yirei av yaseh, ve'et shavatam yishma v'yoshiyem.
shomer Adonai et kol avav, et kol
Tihilat Adonai yedaber pi, vayivarech kol basar shem kodsho le'olam va'ed, va'anachnu nevarech yah.
This ends the introductory part of our service, and now we're going to separate it with what we call the Chatzi Kaddish, which is a blessing that praises God, and we're going to enter into the Shema and her blessings. So if you're able, please rise. We will continue on page 194.
Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'amad yivrach yirutei ve'amlich malchutei, v'chayechonu v'yomechon, u'chayedecho beit Yisrael, bagala, u'vizman kariv, v'imeru. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei kodeshah b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imeru.
Read the morning blessing together in Hebrew, the Yotzer. It's on page 195. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Yotzer or u'orei choshech v'sei shalom b'morei Ameir haaretz v'ladarim aleha barachamim u'drehubo u'damekesh b'chol yom tamid
In ma'aseh v'reishit Ma rabu ma'asecha Adonai, kulam bechokma asita, mala haaretz kinyanecha, titbarach Adonai Eloheinu, al shevach ma'aseh yadecha, ve'al me'orei or shasita yifa'arucha sela, or chadash al tzion ta'ir, v'nizkeh ulanu me'era le'oro, baruch atah Adonai,
hamotzer ha'orot. And we continue now with the Ahava Rabbah on page 198. And I always think of my mother when I read this blessing because it's about love and someone who taught me love. So if you don't mind, I'm going to read it in Hebrew. Ahava rabba ahavta Adonai Eloheinu, chemla gedola v'teira chamalta aleinu, ba'avur avotenu uve'imotenu, shevatru v'cha b'talamdein chukei chayim, kein tachanenu v'talmdenu, hamrachem rachem aleinu, b'tein b'libenu lahavin ulahaskil, lishmoa lilmod ulalamed, lishmor v'laasot ulakayem et kol divrei Talmud Torah ba'ahava. And we'll continue with the last part in Hebrew at the bottom, V'ha'erenenu, on 198.
V'ha'erenenu b'toratecha, v'dabek libeinu b'mitzvotecha, v'yachel levaveinu le'ahava u'yira et shemecha, v'lo
sitting or standing, whatever your preference is.
Shema Yisrael. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך ושרתם מאוד על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Audrey, would you come up and read for us, please? Everybody should know, I know Audrey a long time. She was my intern, right? Once upon a time. And this is someone who has become my teacher. This is Audrey Levine, everybody. She's the president of the region of Hadassah.
So sweet.
We're on page 203.
Sing the song of men and women, join in understanding and respect, the song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come, the song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content, her soldiers home to leave no more, the song of a world redeemed, the song of peace.
Thank you so much. Our service continues with the Mi Chamocha on page 204. Pick a tune. They're conferring. This is the song that was sung at the Red Sea, Miriam's song.
As we're approaching the High Holy Days, one of the customs is to hear the taste, the ta'am of the High Holy Day Nusach. So while, yes, it is still a week away, but I hope you'll join us this evening for Slichot as well. We'll sing Mi Chamocha to the Nusach of the High Holy Days. Mi chamocha b'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, yorot egilot osei melech, shira chadasha shibechu geulim, l'shimcha שפת הים, יחד כולם, הודו והמלכו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם, אמן. צור ישראל,
Rise if you're able.
קומה בעזרת ישראל, ובדרכנו מחה, יהודה וישראל. גואלנו, אדוני צבאות שמו, קדוש ישראל. ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל.
We're on 205 and we'll continue.
Adonai sefata tiftach ufi agitehi latecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Hasei Avot v'Imahot, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה הכל אתה, רב להושיע, מוריד אתה. מחכה חיים בחסד, מחיה הכל umatir asurim, umekayem emunato, bishenei afar, michamocha ba'al kiburot, umido melach, melech memit umechayeh, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman ata ha'chayot ha'kol, baruch ata Adonai, mechayeh ha'kol. Nekadesh et shimcha ba'olam, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ואמר, קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, ולא כל הארץ כבודו. אדיר, אדירנו אדוני, אדוננו מאדיר, שמך בכל הארץ, ברוך כבוד אדוני במקומו. אחד הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו מלכנו, הוא מושיענו והוא ישמיענו, ורחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי ציון, ודור ודור. הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
You may be seated, and we're going to continue on page 211, Yismachu. And this is the Sam Radwine version, right?
Yes. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג. ישמח
take a few moments for silent prayer or prayer that's in your heart, what's in the book. You may pray sitting or standing. If you're still in your prayer zone, please stay there. And if you'd like to join us in the Sim Shalom, which may be found on page 216.
Sim Shalom, Tova Uvracha, Vein V'Chesed V'Rachamim V'Rachamim Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ve'al Kol Yisrael Amecha, Torahnu Yotzreinu, Kulanu Ke'echad, Ve'or Panecha, Ki Ve'or Panecha, Tetzalanu, Adonai Eloheinu. Sim Shalom, Tova Uvracha, Vein V'Chesed V'Rachamim V'Rachamim Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ve'al Kol Yisrael Amecha, Torat Chayim, Ve'avat Chesed, Ve'avat Chesed, Utzedaka Uvracha V'Rachamim, Ve'chayim Ve'Shalom. Sim Shalom, Tova Uvracha, Vein V'Chesed V'Rachamim V'Rachamim Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ve'al Kol Yisrael Amecha. Baruch Ata Adonai, Hamevarech et Amo Yisrael B'Shalom.
Thank you. Okay. The Amidah, which we just recited, is called the heart of the service. But now we come to something a little more familiar, the Torah service. And it recreates the Torah coming down from Sinai. We take it out of the ark and we bring it to the congregation. And I just want to, just a few personal words. This started 50 plus years ago. Where's Estelle? There you are. Okay. My late husband Marvin and I were in our congregation at Temple Bethel in San Pedro, and I poked him in the ribs, and I said, we were at a bat mitzvah, and I said, if I become a bat mitzvah, will you make me a party? I grew up in a home where girls didn't become bat mitzvah, only my boy cousins. Actually, one of my younger cousins did. And he said, sure. And I was joking, and he went up to the rabbi, blessed memory, Rabbi David Lieb, and he said, Janice wants to become bat mitzvah. And Rabbi Lieb thought that was such a great idea. So he said, do you read Hebrew? I said, yes. And so he said, okay, let's do it around your birthday, which was in September, and it was Portion Nitzavim. And we spent the whole summer studying. What happened was, having grown up, and if you read my memoir, you'll know all about this, hint, hint, having grown up in a Jewish home, but not having anything explained to me, my whole world opened up. And I started to pursue the study, and it eventually led, fortunately or unfortunately, to going to the Hebrew Union College and getting a degree in Jewish education.
Fortunately.
Okay, thanks. And I spent 35 years as a Jewish educator and Jewish communal worker. Now I write poetry, right, Joe? But what else happened is that this portion, as Rabbi Navarro has mentioned this morning, is read every year on Yom Kippur in Reform congregations. And for 7 years in a row, Rabbi Lieb asked me to read this portion at the congregation on Yom Kippur. So it became my portion. And for those of you who are involved here, every year I say, hey, this is the one I have to read if it's available. So this is what's going to happen. So we are going to take the Torah from the Ark. I've asked Rabbi Ira Helf to help us do that. And he will take it around to the congregation. And then we will have we will read from the Torah. You can follow, I'll explain where you can follow along when the time comes. So that's the whole reason for this whole Megillah today. Right, okay?
Okay.
Right, okay. So we are on page 244.
Ein kamocha va'Elohim Adonai, ve'ein kemasecha, malchutecha malchut kol olamim, u'memshaltecha bechol dor v'dor. Adonai Page 246. Ki mitzion tetzeh Torah. Ki mitzion tetzeh Torah. Udevar Adonai miYerushalayim. Baruch shenatan Torah.
That's fine. Okay. All right. We are going to be reading from what we call the Chumash, the 5 books of Moses. It's the larger of the books. And you'll be able to find the portion, Deuteronomy 29:9, by looking at the top of the page. It says Deuteronomy, and it's got the chapter and then the verse. And I've asked Elaine Edelman to be my gabbai. She's going to make sure I don't make any mistakes, which I will do. And in keeping with the tradition of what I was taught by Rabbi Lieb, I'm going to read and translate as I go along. So you're on, Elaine.
This morning, we will have 3 aliyot. The first aliyot, I would like to invite up people who are remembering someone, which includes me, either a yahrzeit or saying Kaddish. And after that, I'll tell you about the next 2. So, Yamdu Rishon.
Okay, if you're saying Kaddish or remembering someone, and when you come up, please say your Hebrew name.
Shoshana Bad, Abraham, Aaron, Zimra.
Eti bat Tuvia ve'Esther.
Shmuel, Yakim, Ben Abraham v'Sarah.
Chaim Yisrael, Ben Shmuel.
Miriam bat Aharon v'Hana.
Hannah Rochel bat Hadassah ben Menachem.
Deborah, my father, Howard Palms, who passed away this week.
Raphael, thinking of Howard Palms.
Okay. Yonina bat Kalman Lev Vatova. Here we are. Somebody, please. Amen. Atem nitzavim hayom. You are standing today, kulachem, every one of you, lifnei Adonai Elohechem, before the Lord your God. Rashechem, Shiftechem, Zichnechem, Vishodrechem. The heads of your tribes, your elders, and the guardians. Call Ish Yisrael, every person of Israel. Tapachem, Neshechem, V'gerecha, Asher, Bekerev, Mechanecha. Your little ones, the women, they always have to separate us out. The stranger who was in your midst and in your camp. Michotev Eitzecha ad Shoev Mimecha. From the one who draws who cuts your trees to the one who draws your water. La'avracha b'berit Adonai Elohecha uvilato, to enter into this covenant with the Lord your God and its sanctions. Asher Adonai Elohecha koret imcha hayom, which the Lord your God is consecrating to you today. Laman hekim otecha hayom lo la'am, so that you will be brought to God as your people. V'hu yihiyeh lecha le'Elohim, and God will be your God. Kasher diber lecha, as was spoken to you. V'kasher nishba la'avotecha la'Avraham liYitzchak u'liYaakov, and it was sworn to your ancestors, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. V'lo etchem, and not only you, levadechem, alone. Anochi koret et habrit hazot, do I consecrate this covenant, et ha'ela, and all of these things, hazot, ki et asher yeshno po imanu omed hayom. But for those who are not here with us today. So this is for posterity, folks. Okay. No, that's it. Lifnei Adonai Elohei, who's standing before the Lord your God. That's it. No, that's where I ended. Hayom. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Sorry. Okay.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah. Whom are you remembering?
My mother, Carol Goodman, and one of her best friends, Geraldine Freed, who passed away 12 days ago.
My wife Anna, who passed away 2 months ago today.
My daughter Lori, who passed away 20 years ago.
My father-in-law, Joseph Lieb, and Cantor Ellen Schwab.
Last week ago.
My father, Howard Palms, who passed away Tuesday.
A friend, David Zilberberg, who passed away a few days ago. I may be the only person saying Kaddish for him.
My mother, Esther Bat Moshe Velifshe.
And I'm at the end of Shloshim for my friend Chuck Cantor. And like someone else, I will be the only one saying Kaddish for him. Okay.
May you all have peace in their memory. The second Aliyah Janice has reserved for her guests. You'll have to say who that includes. Yamdu Sheni.
Okay, if you have a connection with me, come up. And I'm going to be some of my guests, and some of the people who are here, come on, Muriel. Some of the people who are here today were here with me 50 years ago. So, I mean, that's really cool, including my son. So, how old are you, Louis? Where are you, Louis?
I have a connection.
You have a connection. We travel together. We're moving to another chapter of Deuteronomy. We're moving to chapter 30. What verse are we on?
Sorry, I'm trying to get 15. 15.
Chapter 30, verse 15. And if you have a Hebrew name, please say it. Just say it.
Yeah,
Everybody say it. Everybody say your Hebrew name.
Hey.
Everybody just say your Hebrew name. Will be a chorus. Okay. Here we go. I'll show you where the portion is.
Baruch hu et Adonai HaMorah. Chavanu mikol ramim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
See, I have set before you today life and goodness, the et hamavet, the et hara, and death and adversity. I lost my place. Et anochi mitzavacha hayom la'ahavat et Adonai Elohecha. I demand upon you today that you love the Lord your God, lalechet bidrachav, to walk in God's ways, ulishmor mitzvotav, to observe the deeds, the mitzvot, v'chukotav, and the statutes, umishpotav, and the laws. V'chayata v'ravita uvarachka Adonai Elohecha be'eretz asher ata ba shama l'rishta. And you will multiply, you will be blessed in the land that you are going over there to inherit. V'im yifneh levavacha v'lo tishma'u v'nidchat v'hishtachaveh Elohim acherim. But if you don't obey these and you bow down to other gods, v'adata, and you worship them, higadati lachem hayom, I swear, I will tell you today, ki oved tovedun, you will surely perish. Okay, Say your connection. Oh, wait, blessing afterward.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, ulam nota betochenu, Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Say your connection.
I tied Janice's shoes in the Antarctic when she hurt her arm. And we have had many wonderful adventures together.
Susan Page.
Susan.
Keep going.
60-plus years, families together, children grown up. Strong Alpers and Pearlsteins.
This is Peter Alper, folks, and we are not related by blood, but we're related.
I've been a friend for quite a few years now, a fellow writer and traveler. Thank you.
Come on, don't cry.
Janice was my inspiration to go back to school, to HSC, and to become a Jewish educator. Thank you.
And we continue to learn from each other.
Janet is a very important member of Jewish Poets, Jewish Voices, and we serve together on that wonderful committee.
Thank you. This is an amazing woman. Come on, let's go. Keep going. We've got a lot of people here.
All those New Year's Eves with Harry and Marvin, you and me, what fun we had. Many years. Thank you.
As Janice said, I was her intern when I was in graduate school in Jewish education.
Continue to learn from you, kids. Come on, keep going. Keep going. Keep it moving.
Shabbats and concerts together.
Fun.
Traveling and doing fun stuff together.
Good to see you. Come on.
I've actually known her the longest. I'm her son.
Keep it moving. Let's go.
She's my chavruta. When I was studying for my ordination, I was ordained 2 years ago. We studied Torah together.
Right, and you're great. We're a great team. Some of you can come around this way.
My beloved husband was the Rabbi David Lieb that she mentioned before, but aside from being her Rebbitzin, we were good friends.
Right, we still are.
Yeah, we still are.
Keep going. Some people do.
Good friends also with your dear departed husband, and I'm looking at the beautiful parochet they gave to the synagogue.
Fellow writers and longtime friends.
Longtime friend. Congratulations, Janice. Wonderful.
A friend from the university. We didn't know Janice when she was age 13, but you can bet she must have been a dynamo even then.
Janice has been my inspiration for poetry, and I love her and thank her.
I'm Kamesh, and Janice is an inspiration for me to write poetry and having coffee once in a while, but like to do more.
I'm Jim, and Janice is my poetry mentor and my poetry hero.
And Jim Marino is my poetry guru. Thank you, Barb.
I'm Barb, and Janice is a fellow traveler and a fellow writer.
Right. And,
love her.
And Barb brought me to Jim's poetry class the first time. Right. It's really an honor to have you all here with me. Okay.
Janice, you're amazing. All these people are coming because you're their inspiration. For the third Aliyah, I'd like to invite members of the Minyan who have something that you would like to announce or share with us. Yamdu Shlishi. Your Hebrew name?
Shoshana bat Abraham Aron v'Zimra.
Baruchu et Adonai Habarach. Baruch Adonai Habarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim. V'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. What verse are we on?
Verse 18, chapter 30, verse 18 through 20.
Okay. Lo ta'arichun yamim al ha'adama asher ota ever et hayarden lavo shama l'rishta. Your days will not be long on this land that you are going over the Jordan to inherit. Ha'adati bachem hayom. Et hashamayim ve'et ha'aretz. I call heaven and earth to witness today. Hechayim v'hamavat natati lefanecha. Life and death I have placed before you. Habracha v'haklala. Blessing and curse. Uvirchata b'chayim. Choose life. Lema'an tichiyeh ota v'zarecha. That you will live and your seed will live. Lahava et Adonai Elohecha, to love the eternal your God. Lishmoa b'kolo, to hear God's voice. Uladavka bo, and to cleave to God. Ki hu hayecha va'arecha, because God is your life and will lengthen va'arecha yamecha, and will lengthen your days. L'shavat el ha'adama asher nishba Adonai, that on the land that was sworn, that God swore, la'avotecha, to your ancestors, la'Avraham, la'Yitzchak, u'Yaakov, latet lahem, to Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, to give to them.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nota b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. I'm Susan Zale. I am so excited and so proud to have been elected on the board of the Women of Beth Israel. And I begin my service on Monday night at the my first board meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good. Okay. It's now time in our service to remember those who need healing. So if you are thinking of someone who needs healing, we have 2 microphones. Please come up to either side and announce the name of someone who needs some healing. And it can be for yourself or anyone else you know. Okay? So come up.
Terry Miller and Ian Brisky.
Mort Goodman, Chris Doyle, and myself.
Ruth Epner, Terry Newman, Jerry Newman, Karen Miller, Debbie Simmons, Mark Booth, Kathy Booth, and Eddie Coop.
Al Jalowiski, my husband, Roberta Sabalkin, and Marge Wallen.
Shirley Palms.
Eric Winston and David Crowell.
Esther Miller.
Hezekiah Watkins, Murray Kornfeld, Dixon Livingston.
Ron Caden, Robert Lubick.
And Marshall Lubick.
Naomi Bat-Freil, Jacob Emalka, and Robert Van Dyke.
David Kroll, Eric Winston, Elaine Edelman, John Lewis, and Larry Alexander.
John Perlman and Brendan Muller.
My mother Rosa, who is currently very ill from her legs.
Harry Widener and Carly Zimmelman.
Steve Cowett and Cindy Gerard.
Sam Kamen, Abby Thomas, Bob and Carolyn Johnson, Jack and Bernice Sandbrand, Jay Harris, Ellen Kahn, Adele Levy, Herb Lubick, Sima Oppenheimer, Rhonda Schwartz, Sandy and Dan Lynn, Deborah Fisher.
Okay. And my cousin Linda Calderon, Alan Kleinman, Brenda Shatskin, and my friend Shelley Ricosi. The blessing for healing may be found on page, help me, page 253. time to put the Torah away. I'm going to ask Jerome Hall to come and lift the Torah, and I've asked my wonderful daughter-in-law, my best daughter-in-law, to dress it. Okay, so here we go.
I'm just going to.
Yes, we can find the prayers for returning the Torah to the Ark on page 256.
Please rise.
Please rise, right.
וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל. על פי אדוני ביד משה. יאללה לי 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 לי, יאללה לי 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 לי, יאללה לי לי לי, יאללה לי 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 לי, יאללה
Thank you, everybody. Okay, you may be seated. Now comes the eulogy. This is my son, Louis Alper. I said, you're going to speak. He's my best son. I'm going to sit down. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good morning and Shabbat Shalom, everybody. You're going to speak into the mic. All right. I feel like a politician. All right, so I have limited time, I was told, and what to say. So I consulted Google, ChatGPT, nothing there. So I went to my brain. So 50 years ago, the summer of 1973, a day in September, my mother was standing on the bima at Temple Beth Israel in San Pedro, Temple Bethel, in San Pedro, having her bat mitzvah. Now, I was in attendance, my father, my sisters, my brother, we were all there. And as we know, a few of you who are here today were there too. However, if you reflect on that day and how it relates to what we heard in today's Torah portion, it's actually quite significant. Now, the first passage talks about an intertwining and a connection of the Jewish people over the history of time and space. In the passage, as Moses is leading the Israelites towards the Jordan River, knowing he's not able to actually cross the river into what will become the land of Israel, he states, "You stand this day, all of you, before the eternal your God. I make this covenant with all its sanctions, not with you alone, but with those who are standing here with us this day and with those who are not with us this day." Basically, in essence, he has created a common bond amongst all Jewish people over time. Now, my mother grew up in an Orthodox home, which we heard, where only the boys were allowed to become bar mitzvah. Though my mom could not become a bat mitzvah, she had to be Shomer Shabbat, she had to attend temple on a regular basis, she went to Hebrew school, and she was basically exposed to all aspects of Jewish life and religious life, just as everybody else in her family. Now, if you look back and think about it, Janice choosing to become a bat mitzvah was her way of coming full circle from her childhood to adulthood, ensuring and solidifying her commitment to the Torah and her bond with the Jewish people in the past, present, and future. Now, in the second passage, Moses states, "Surely the instruction which I enjoin upon you this day is not too baffling on you, nor is it beyond reach. It is not in the heavens, neither is it in the sea. No, the thing is very close to you, in your mouth, in your heart, to observe it." Moses is reminding the Israelites of their responsibilities, of their place in the universe, how to live a moral and respectable life based on how they feel and by seeing what is in front of them. In a sense, it's a golden rule by which to live. As many of you know, my mother is always welcoming of family, friends, and even strangers into her home. She's never lacking for sharing of food or of telling a good story, and she ensures visitors are always comfortable and welcome. She has donated her time to various organizations over the years, such as Hadassah, CAGE, which is the Coalition for Alternatives in Jewish Education, and even her time at the Birch Aquarium. She has donated to many charities over time, such as for cancer research and AIDS foundations. She's even had to sit at the bedside of sick friends and relatives. These are all values and morals and obligations that Judaism teaches and that have been instilled in my mother and that she has been able to pass down to the generations. The third passage reminds us that we put fate in our own hands and we decide how we will live. Moses says, "I call heaven and earth to witness against you this day. I have put before you life and death, blessings and curse. Choose life that you and your offspring may live." Since my mother's bat mitzvah, she chose to pursue a path in Jewish education. Now, mind you, we didn't collaborate on any of this. I know she's already mentioned a lot of this, but first of all, she completed her education at Hebrew Union College. She eventually received an honorary PhD from there. She became the principal of several Hebrew schools in the Los Angeles area. She worked for the Bureau of Jewish Education in LA, developing content for other educators. She headed the Bureau of Jewish Education in Atlanta, and she even headed an organization based out of Melbourne, Australia, where she helped influence Jewish education and educational programs throughout the Oceania region. Through the years, my mother has created a network of colleagues and friends around the world. What we observed at her bat mitzvah was the first of many times she would lead services, not just at Temple Bethel, but at other temples across the US and worldwide. Today, things are a little more simple. As well as still leading services, my mother focuses on writing her poetry, short stories, and books, all with inspiring messages. Janice chose a path to educate and to instill tradition and ritual. As Moses led the Israelites toward the Jordan River, already knowing he could not cross into the land of Israel, he reminded them of their connection to one another, their responsibilities to not just as Jews, but as human beings, and to take charge of their own lives, all while being able to care for and inspire others. Unlike Moses, my mother has been able to travel to the land of Israel, and we think at least 30 times. And by becoming bat mitzvah, it solidified her commitment to the Jewish people, reminded her of her responsibilities of how to live, and helped define a path by which to focus and follow. Although there has been progress and innovation that have helped us change our lives in many ways over the years, it's fair to say that as we look back to Janice's bat mitzvah in 1973, we realize that as much as things change, many things still remain the same. That's all I got.
It's good. Is that a chip? Oh, I forgot to acknowledge the Chai Chavurah, most of whom are here today, so thank you all for coming. We're about to conclude our service, so in a few minutes. And I'm going to give you some instructions before we end, but let's conclude and then we'll do that. Okay. We will start the conclusion of our service with the Aleinu on page 282. We will do the full Aleinu when it comes, so don't go on autopilot, all right? So everybody, please rise, page 282.
Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon ha'kol, la'tet gedula le'otzeh bereshit, shelo asanu kigoyei ha'aratzot, velo samanu b'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, v'kor aleinu kechol hamon
I'm reading on page 288. When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old men that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved. And if you cannot give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not in your mind. You can love me best by letting hands touch hands and by letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die, people do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away. And I just want to say one quick thing. My husband and I, Marvin, donated this parochet, this Ark curtain for our 50th wedding anniversary. And he died shortly thereafter. So every time I come here, I feel his presence. And this is why I'm so committed to the minyan. On page 293, our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people, whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation, whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. And if you are remembering someone, please stand at your seats and announce the name. And before we begin, I want to announce the death of Fanny Leibovitz, who we thought would live forever. She died this week at age 100. So her funeral was yesterday. Okay, and I am remembering Chuck Cantor.
My mother, Esther Asner Edelman.
Byron Lee.
Marcia. Thank you. Deb. Thank you. And as a community, we all will join together in the Kaddish on page 294. Yit Gadal v'yit Gadash Shemei Rabbah v'yalma divrach Yerutei yamlich malchutei v'chayechon u'vyomechon u'v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael b'agalah b'zman kari v'imru.
Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevarach Le'alam Ulamei Almaya Yiparach
V'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yibrumam v'yinaser v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal
Richu
Le'elam yinkol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechanata damiram v'yalma v'imru.
Amen.
Oseh shalom b'mama huya shalom Aleinu Ya'akol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Okay, thank you. You may be seated. We will have some announcements. Okay, Gordon, you have announcements? Or Susan? Susan, you have the announcements? Okay, while we're waiting for Susan, I just want to let you all know a few things. When this service is over, we will make a friendship circle outside and sing Oseh Shalom. Then you will be handed a little cup of either grape juice or wine. Don't drink it, because we're going to bless the wine together. And then we're going to bless the challah together, the sacrificial bread. Then you can attack the food. You got that, kid? That's my favorite grandson. I can do that to him. Okay, Susan, announcements?
Next week, we will all be in the sanctuary for Rosh Hashanah services. But the following week, we'll be back in here for a minyan. And Chuck Helzel and Rachel Brown will be conducting the service. Jerome Hall will be doing the Torah service. And Howard Hyan will be giving Dvar Torah.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, and any announcements, Mr. President? You mean I'm not getting a present?
Validate your parking. If you need parking validation stickers, the lovely, beautiful, unfortunately not cast deal or no deal suitcase opener, Marty Stern, is holding our validation sticker. So if you parked in the parking structure, get one of those stickers.
Okay, great. We have a song.
Lishana tova tikatevu, Lishana tova tikatevu, tikatevu, Lishana tova. Let's join together. Lishana tova tikatevu, Lishana tova tikatevu, tikatevu, Lishana tova.
Thank you, Rabbi Gimbel. Thank you, Mila. You'll hear more from Mila. Okay, please rise. This is me.
Great.
Elohim, 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 God of our fathers and mothers. Thank you for coming today, for coming into your presence, and for joining us in worship on this beautiful Shabbat day.
Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you. Tomorrow.
One is you can get any kind of cloth or like any kind of linen, cotton, silk, whatever. Yeah.